You start off with a laugh. You start off with laughing at just the audience.
Sorry.
Start off with a laugh. Let's start with this bootstrapping. Let's go.
When you said it, I'm like, you know what? Someone did call me a bootstrapper
multiple times.
You know
It's the most American thing ever.
Bootstrap, because I forgot what was the top. What was the discussion?
Introduce the podcast.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Financial Griot, aka TFG. We're here. We love to share our stories, but more or less just having a discussion about wealth and just becoming the better version of yourself. Because what is money if you're not the person that can generate the wealth that you want? I'm one of three of the co-hosts, Alainta, Alcin, and I have two of my lovely co-hosts. One of the name is actually lovely, and LG being LG. So how are you guys doing before we get into my subject that I want to talk about?
It's lovely, and also I'm going to.
I want to cut off Lovely. Really she cut me off last time. She cut me off last time.
Oh, see? Oh, wow.
Why you got? But why you got to do the same thing though?
It was personal. You saw that?
He's like, I'm going to be petty. I'm going to be petty.
I waited for she to start talking and then jumped in.
Oh my God. Well, my name's Lovely, and I didn't mean to cut off Lawrence, but look at Lawrence just purposely cutting me off. But no, I'm excited for this episode because Atlanta's about to go on a rant and I'm about to laugh. So over to LG.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining back us. Up again. I don't know, it's just kind of funny. My name is Lawrence Delva Gonzalez. I'm known as a neighborhood finance guy on the interwebs, and I'm also a self-proclaimed bootstrapper. So I'll pass it over to Alainta.
So you're self-proclaimed.
I had to.
No,
they called it what it is. I'm like, that's what everybody else in the world does. It doesn't make any sense. Everybody gets up in the morning, puts on their shoes. They technically strap off their bootlace.
Okay, so how my this person called me, well, I guess, I don't know if me directly or just my ideology of bootstrapping, right? So I told...
They called you a bootstrapper.
Okay, they called me a bootstrapper.
But wait, for anybody that don't know what a bootstrapper is, it has to deal with, in times of segregation, Jim Crow, so on and so forth, way in the past. It's just an idea that there is, a metaphorical boot that you cannot wear or something. You know what? I'm butchering the heck out of this. I think it might have been Martin Luther King that said something like that. Like, you can't really put on your boots. You can't lace it. It sounds so stupid and silly. Forget it. I try to explain it. I try to explain it.
Is essentially bootstrappers are people that have the concept of the idea of like, hey, you get started by yourself, you make things happen. And I think what you're alluding to is that they were saying like, you guys are trying to access to bootstrap boots that we don't even have. So then when people call you a bootstrapper, it's pretty much saying like, you're trying to think through essentially that anybody can make it, when in reality, some people think they don't have boots.
And some people don't have socks, and some people only have sandals. It's crazy. These metaphors get silly.
Right. So thank you for that context, because I was about to go in. But from what I recall, the conversation and this person calling me a bootstrapper, rabbit ears, is to say that my ideology of pushing through life, right, and doing things that I want and what I set out to do, is saying that, like Lovely mentioned, is taking yourself from the trenches, if you will, right? And it's to say that also, no matter if you have boots or not, you'll make things happen. And there is a form and level of me where I'm very empathetic of people to say that, okay, there's a lot of people, I'm not talking about more international global perspective, but here in the United States, where poverty is people are poor. I don't want to say poor to enunciate, they poor, right? Like, it's real poverty in their child poverty. Like, there's no endless, this cycle of poverty in their families, and they're really going through the trenches. I understand that. But I also can only speak on the level of my experience and what I have seen and what I have actually done. That's the only way I can kind of, I guess, process life and process how things have developed in my life because of what I have seen, right? Coming from a mother who came to America, my father, and I told you guys the story before, my father brought my mom over here and he passed away a few years later, abruptly. She didn't know English, not much education. And she had to raise 3 kids at that time under the age of 4, all in diapers. You get what I'm saying? So she maneuvered, and of course, with help and resources that she had to get her entire family, because my other 3 brothers were in Haiti, came to America. She brought them back, brought them to America, where they were able to thrive. One is an engineer, one's a data, and like everyone kind of thrive in their own path, even myself. So for me to see that my mom did it with very little resources and help, and not even knowing the English language, you know, how can I not see that as someone who has the willpower to make it happen? And for me, even when I make excuses for myself, even like, oh, I'm procrastinating, do it, I don't feel like doing this. I look at it at a level of privilege. I look at a level of privilege because I'm tired from work. I'm tired of talking around. I'm tired of doing these meetings. I don't want to come home and cook. Let me get DoorDash. Where my mom didn't even have access to these things. And she still, you know, made food at the end of the day. We always had something to eat, always had shelter, always had clothes on our backs. And I think about those things, and I think about her struggles, and I think about my own struggles. And I think about, well, if I want something, no one will provide me with what I want. I have to go out and get it. There's no other way. And I never even look at people for assistance. I ask, but if they can't provide it to me, then I am my own advocate. My mom was her own advocate. She didn't have anyone else. When your husband of almost 20 years passed away abruptly, what do you do in this unknown country that you have no idea how it operates? So I think my mom is the greatest example for me. And I think that she passed in her own way, right? She passed her willpower and her determination, her perseverance to make things happen for herself. And again, I am very empathetic of people that may not see past their own obstacles or even see past today or tomorrow, right? But for me, in my experience, I'm always the advocate of, if you want something, you go out and get it. No one here, you know, is going to give you anything that you're striving to be or whatever you're trying to do. You just have to go out and get it. I may not have the answers, you know, and the other person may not have the answers, but nothing is impossible if you're not just trying to figure it out, you know? And I think sometimes we kind of lay this excuse to say that what this person is stopping me, that person is doing this, or people have this hidden agenda on you and all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Just like constantly. I remember a story my mom shared with me when she had to go to work, and she left us with, you know, my mom does agriculture work, from like sugarcane work. And she had to leave us, me and my sister at the time, not my brother, me and my sister at the time, with one of the neighbors in the neighborhood. And a few days, she noticed we had marks on our bodies. Like the babysitter was like physically abusing us, like leaving marks on us. And if you guys know me, I'm a little chocolate thing and leaving marks on us, right? And my mom remembered she had to quit that shift and to look for another babysitter, and she cried. She cried because she felt like, as a mother and as my parent, she couldn't protect me. And she's in a situation where she had to choose to quit a job in order to provide protection for her children. And that's the level of perseverance. That's a level of willpower to kind of see through your situations. Like, there's no other place that you will get through the other side, only through it, and not always been through it. Even my own personal struggles, what I have been going through or is going through in my life, I think about those things. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, you know, I can make excuses and this and that, but if I want something, I'm going to always go out and get it. No one can tell me anything. Like, I can hear 1,000 no's. I just need one yes. And sometimes I don't even need permission from you. I could just do it. And I don't know. I don't know. It's like my belief system, my mom, like, I don't know what it is, but it's just like everything I really sought out to do, I've done it and I'm very proud of myself. But some people see it as like, well, we couldn't do it. And everyone's situation is different, which I definitely understand. And I think it's just the willpower that I was passed along from my mom and things that I have seen my brothers push forward through, right? So if I can be labeled as a bootstrapper, then it is what it is. But I will say that although some may not have boots to strap, there's others creating boots to even pass to their children or whatever it could be, so they can have a better future. So sometimes it is that sacrifice you do for yourself so that in order for your other children or your cousins or whoever in your family can have better resources and a better future than you did. So I don't know. I could be labeled as a bootstrap. I'll take it. I'm okay with that. What was your story, LG?
Okay, bootstrapper number 2.
There's a lot of stories in regards to, I guess people said it to me before. One, I didn't know what the heck they were talking about to ever begin with. So first, when you call me a name or anything, I actually have no clue until I kind of go research it. And then I look at it and I'm like, I don't even think you even know what the heck you're talking about. When the implied statement about bootstrapping, I get it. It makes sense in a situation where people had nothing, and I can't really, if you came from a household rife with abuse or drug use and so on and so forth, I get it. Not everybody's gonna make it out, but I came from overseas, right? I was sent to Haiti when I was 11 months old. I was in Haiti till like 9 years old. I didn't have any parents around me. Most days we didn't have a lot to eat, but we just kind of made do. And how I get to school every morning was literally like an hour journey that I had to get out on my own, walk it, whatever it was, get to school on my own terms. And this was me at like 7, 6, or an 8 doing this stuff. Whereas other people in America, in my opinion, when I got here and I looked around, I'm like, you have an entire system. You even have running water. You had water fountains in the school. You had like AC units to blast on, because it's a little too hot, the AC runs. If it's a little too cold, the AC, runs a little warmer. So I'm like, this is a conditioned space that was different from where I came from. There was even free breakfast at the school, reduced free lunch for people that know about it, whatever it is, free breakfast and also free lunch. So you can actually keep there. You had books, physical books that were available to you for free to use, that were given or granted to you because you didn't have to buy it at the time. This is not college. You're just getting all this stuff for free. And the school system wasn't the best. The teachers were not the greatest, but yet from the system that I came from, where I saw nothing, absolutely nothing, to me, this was easy by comparison. I remember going back to Haiti after, it might have been before the earthquake, probably a couple of years before the earthquake. I was there, I was sitting around chilling, and I was at one of the parks. And there was a kid, he was a poor kid, I'm pretty sure didn't have a mom, dad, whatnot. He was living on the street. I saw him wake up from the cardboard or a thing that he was sleeping in. And he got to it. Like, he just got up. In that morning, I was up very early as well. So he got up, he got to it, and he fastened his belt. All right. And it was the weirdest thing I ever seen. The kid had no real shoes. He had the pants on. He has one shirt that he had on him. He literally looked like this is Aladdin in real time, man. This kid is like completely destitute, but yet he had enough moral fortitude to fasten his belt around so he could protect his privacy, right? A guy with no privacy, no walls, still had enough mental willpower to say, I'm going to get up in the morning, I'm going to actually fasten myself with whatever I have and actually get to it. To come back to America and to find people just sitting there all day, every day, complaining about, woe is me, somebody did this to me, somebody did not do this to me, a perceived slight that happened 500 years ago, it's wild. It's even a little bit maddening. So when somebody says, hey, you're bootstrapping, I'm like, this is what everybody else does. This is what all other communities do. They don't have a negative label for it. And we in the Black community, at least the communities I'm from, the people I've run circles with, we have a tendency of turning everything positive into something negative. You speak better English. Oh, you're talking white. You're trying to almost like redress your back. Oh, you're trying to be, you're trying to be proper. You're going to school. Oh, you're trying to do too much. Oh, you're speaking in a tone, or you're expressing ideals and understandings and concepts and so on and so forth. Oh, you're trying to be smart. There's always a negative portrayal of anything positive and nearly constructive in our entire existence. The ideal that people that are also educated to use the term bootstrapperism or bootstrapping, whatever it is, like, you're basically doing yourself a disservice, because that's what you did. You got up in the morning, you put on your boots, or shoes, or whatever it is, and you went to school. You laced up tennis shoes. I don't give a damn what you laced up, but you did it. You went to school, you studied, and you earned a grade, and hopefully you got a job. It doesn't have to be the best job. It might not be the job that you actually wanted, but this is what you did, and then you still accomplished something. That's what every other community does. The ideal that Lovely proposed in the last episode of the podcast, you gotta have to tune in for that one, where she even said the illusion of easy. We think that everybody else has it easy. Somebody who had fixed their mouth to say, oh yeah, in white family, they talk about personal finance. So you think, so in a white family, it's like, oh, they're going to have a dinner at the table. And the first thing is talk about, hey, son, hey, you're 4 years old. Let's talk about the stock market. How's the stock market going? Oh, yes, Dad, the stock market is doing well today. It's performing 5 to 10%. This is what you think that they do. You think that every other community is doing these otherworldly things, whereas they're doing the exact same mannerism that you're doing, but instead they're actually trying. They don't have to talk to their kids about personal finance. They just wake up in the morning and they just tell their kids to make sure you go to school, earn the grade, do what you need to do. This is why you see Indian Americans vastly outpacing everyone. Why? Because they're hyper focused on getting the job, getting the grade, getting situated, getting married, and also buying a home so they could actually live their lives. They are quote unquote bootstrapping. That's what they're doing. So if that's the label that they put on me, I love it. I'm like, yo, this is what I do. And if you don't want to bootstrap and you figure the world is going to come to you at some point, you know what? More power to you. I can only laugh at you because I was never built to be that weak. I was never built to be that cowardly. I was never built to be that almost like infantile. That's just not me. That's not how I'm built. I literally walk from one city to another. I kid you not. There's an entire episode of me doing that as a child or like an adolescent. There's been moments I had to push a car by myself for miles. Why? Because nobody else was there going to help me. I may as well do it myself. I'm just the kind of self-starter that exists. Why? Because nobody goes around me to actually move me. And if I didn't move, I would have died. So I'd rather be a bootstrapper that does something. And that's my story. At least part of my story. Because I got way more than that. Lovey, are you a bootstrapper? Because you're graduating soon.
Do you think...
Yeah.
Oh.
Go ahead, Alainta.
I was going to say, do you think this kind of coincide with the respectability or the lack of respectability that comes along with it? Because I remember we had a conversation.
That's exactly what it is. They call it respectability politics.
Okay, I'm thinking this conversation we had a little bit ago about, you know the comments. Yeah, I know the comments. You still that little podcast, that little finance. We're coming, but oh my gosh, the disrespect. But yeah, when people do things like that or call you bootstrapper, is it a way to trying to find the words?
It's a way for them to almost to say that you're special, and then I can't do what that is, because you're special, and you can't force your specialness. Yeah, you can't force your specialness on me. I'm like, oh, so you just want to be mediocre? That's nice. It's interesting. That's what you want to be, a loser. You want to be mediocre. You want to fail at life. If this is what you want to do, I guess you can do it.
You know what? And sometimes I'm starting to think, maybe the last few years, I'm starting to see that. That's why I feel like I'm kind of outgrowing Florida a bit. That maybe I am the big fish in a small pond. because if they're saying something simple like maxing out your 401k or getting a house that's out of reach, or investing is out of reach, maybe I'm just not in the right environment.
It's
I definitely
everywhere.
think so.
But it's everywhere though.
Yeah, you have to start.
Yeah, it is. I'm in DC and they say the same thing. So it's part of our community. It's a language that we use in our community to almost systemically choose the title or the identity of the victim. You cannot be a victim if you succeed. You cannot hold true to, oh, there was these grievances made to me. You can't keep going back there if you actually move forward.
No, you cannot.
Oh, I was just gonna let you rock.
I thought you was about to rock out for a second. You cannot.
No, you cannot. Oh, very, very proper there. I'm
yeah, very proper. I like it. I like. Are you watching Bridgerton?
Yeah, they're really good. It's for me, this conversation it's one of those things where I'm just like, meh, if that's how they feel, let them feel that way, then stay stuck. Just stay stuck. Because people get mad at people that say things like, well, you got to eat right and exercise, right? That's just where it is. You got to eat right and exercise if you want to be healthy. And you have to do the work. You just have to. And I think we want to keep saying that, well, these people have more. And all of these things can be true, but two things can also be true. Yes, there's a gap. But can the gap be closed? I'm watching people around me. I'm watching myself closing the gap. So that tells me that it's possible. And we need to get out of the mindset of like thinking that these things, calling people names and, oh, you're just whatever because you got lucky. Well, if that's the case, then that's fine. But like even the people that say that they get luck, I think there is a factor of like chance and timing. But if you ever see it, you'll realize that person was putting a little bit of work somewhere that kind of collides with the opportunity that they're getting, and I feel as if like that's where it comes down to. People like, well, I can never catch a break. You make your own breaks. Keep pushing, put in the work. And because I also realized that something Lawrence is saying, I think what we're confusing when people say put in the work, we're talking about hard work. Some of the hardest working people I know are people that are literally impoverished because the math doesn't work. However, what our job should be is exactly what Lawrence mentioned. There's the Indian community. They're doubling down on education and they're doubling down on key educational programs that actually benefit income, right? If I would have went back and thought more strategically of the MBA program, I would have pushed to just do the GMAT. I didn't even get a chance to take it. Took the GRE. I would have just taken the GMAT, and I would have just waited another year, and I would have pushed to apply to the MBA program at Harvard. It would have been more expensive, but there's a reason why. Because now that I know some of the stuff that they have going on, more research, I'm like, oh, okay, this is why people push to be in that part of that school program. Because the average salary that people come from that school and the connection that school has, it's warranted of the price that it has. So I'm talking to my friends now that have children. Like, prioritize not just the school because of the great education, but you need to figure out the network that the school has because it matters. We're not strategically thinking. So even the people that are saying that, oh, you can't just bootstrap your way to getting equality. I'm not talking about equality. I'm talking about so you can have something to fend for yourself. So you can even get started on having those secondary conversations. And if this is what they're calling people that want to do that, then so be it. I could care less anymore about what people think and what they say, because they'll think that, and then later on, if you're not doing anything with your life, they'll say, "Oh, what were you doing? What did you do?" So I don't care what they have to say. I feel like it's just another group of people that are going to make a lot of excuses. And at the end of the day, the excuses don't pay the bills. Excuses don't change lives. Excuses are not going to shave off what I recently learned, that we lose 25%, not 25%, 25 years off our lives because of poverty in our community.
Yeah.
Change that.
it happens, and to me, it's like I don't care if I died tomorrow. Did I live doing something that was meaningful? I think that's something that we don't understand as well. Because I saw that article that popped up, and I think he was like, "Oh, I can't believe we died sooner because we're poor." I'm like, "Yo, it matters the what you did with the time that you had. That's what really matters. If you did nothing and you lived to 100, then you wasted even more time. It's kind of crazy." But I wanted to go back to what Alainta stated, because your story is probably, it makes more sense to me because I'm a son of an immigrant. I'm first generation out here, just like you, just like Lovely. So almost like we see and perceive the world differently, through the eyes of people that came and they worked and they didn't even complain about the work. I think the environment that some people are living in is it's an environment of complaints anyways. It's an environment of people saying the same words over and over again, like it's not working, the white man's against me, the Asian man is against me, the orange man is against me. I think that's Trump. The women are against me. You have everybody's always against you. For some reason, you still not even for you. You still don't put in the work. So when I hear stories like your mom and what she had to go through, and understanding what that is, and watching my mother, my aunts, and people in my family persevere as best they could. They didn't become like these renowned people, but they did the best they could. Yep. And what that creates is an opportunity for the next generation to do more. And I think that's where people miss out on too. Sometimes everybody, a lot of people in this day and age, basically formulates stories about how they are wronged, right? But they're not actually solving anything so the next generation could be, better off. Mm-hmm. So it's always like, oh, woe is me, woe is my issues, but it's not about your issues. It's about fixing the next one. When I started learning or remembering that value, that, hey, my grandmother, she never made more than like 20K per year. She probably made close to 16. When she was working, at least in McDonald's, she probably brought in 15. Really, she wasn't really bringing a lot of money. My mom never made more than $30,000 per year. Period. I know this because when she retired, I did her taxes anyways. The height she ever got to is like, I think she might have been 34. A little shy over 30. So sue me on this, extra $4,000. But beyond that, me and my wife now, we're pulling north of 250,000. This is an insane proposition, and it's not something that happened because we were lucky. This happened because at one point when I had nothing, I said, you know what, I'm going to join the Marine Corps. Not everybody else had the choice to do it, but they didn't want to do it. They were scared. They were afraid. They didn't want to do it. I said, you know what, I want to join this thing so I could have some level of backing, hopefully use them for some financial purposes down the line. After giving 8 years, which wasn't easy, it was a good 8 years of my life in the Marine Corps, I was able to leave it, not have anything from it, and then eventually use the extra points to get a job working for the government.
And a house.
And and eventually, when I finally realized I had the veterans thing, because I put in so much extra hours on top of the hours that was allotted to do, I was able to get to the veteran status, which a lot of Marines don't
discredit the veteran status.
I'm telling you right now. Well, there's veterans that kind of become veterans because they stay for 20 years. Right, basically like a pension type of thing, right? But there are the other veteran status. You have to earn the shit out of it, either through deployment or through it's almost like 4 hours. It's like 4 years. Yeah. So
you don't automatically get it?
No, you don't automatically get it.
Really?
Oh, you didn't know that, don't you? That's messed up.
No.
Yeah, that's
how's that messed up? My brother. Well, he never told me that part.
Yeah, but it could also be dependent on the branch. The Marine Corps is notoriously very cheap, and we don't do all that stuff. You got to earn everything.
The hardest and the cheapest, huh?
Oh yeah, hardest and the cheapest. It's like you got to earn the heck out of it. But majority of them don't. I think recently I found out a friend of mine who was National Guard. He ended up getting the veteran thing because National Guard is a different type of structure, and I guess they could become veterans. But I don't think in the actual military, like the standard, hey, you've gone through the military, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps. I don't think you could become just a veteran just because you exist there. You really have to work to earn for it, either through hours, the 20 years, or through service overseas abroad. A lot of people came back veterans from in the 2000s because we were at war.
Ah, okay, gotcha. So, doing the tours.
Yeah, some people are doing a tour, so they earned it through that. So it's not a simple, it's not a given, it's something that you have to go through. And you might get PTSD from that. So I don't know, maybe the house is not that bad.
No, something new I learned. I didn't know that. I thought you get automatic status as soon as
Nah.
if it's an honorable discharge.
Nah, the honorable discharge is another thing. You can't get your VA qualification if you're dishonorable.
So I knew that part, but I say if you're honorable, honorable
you could also lose that too. So it's like a 2 caveat thing. You could become a veteran but be dishonored and you lose everything.
Wow.
So there's a lot there that I had to make these decisions to go through this route that was not easy. And every time when I went out of school the first time without a really strong degree, I came out with a criminology degree and whatever. Business and French. It was weird. And I wasted my time in college. One, because I thought I was going to die in the Marine Corps. One, the other. I don't know. But ultimately, I wasted my time and I went back in. I took the GRE. I also took the GMAT at almost the same time. And I applied for a master's class at Florida State University in accounting and taxation. Why? Because I thought, hey, that's going to be a field where I can actually make some money. And I eventually squandered that too. So after pulling some years working 23K a year jobs, 32K a year jobs, I was able to apply for another job, got one making 64, but I still had to make the decision to go and get that job. I could have stayed. These are just a function of your will. It's not a function of just what's going on. You have to, the door will open, but not everybody goes through the door opportunity. They just don't. Like your mom, every time that she had a chance, every day she woke up, she decided to go through that door. No matter if that door was a pretty door, a bad door, even a slight, she fit her way in because she knows she had to do it. But we live in a society, it's so easy for some people that they never learn how hard it could really be.
Like my brother say, it could be worse. My brother always put me back to middle ground. It could be worse.
Yeah, I was starving. I'm like looking at people like bootstrapping. Like, while y'all were rocking, J's, Nikes, and brand new outfits for school, I had old outfits that I had the year before. I had to buy my own first pair of tennis shoes when I was 16. Before then, I can't remember what I had besides the Bobos, whatever it is, Sulias that my mom would get me. That's all she thought that was necessary for a kid.
It's, I guess, you know what? I don't want to say foreigners, but I will say we built different.
Because we're built really poor. That's why we struggled. We had struggle times. I think that those people that say callously, "Oh, you're bootstrapping," because they never really been poor. You've been inconvenienced. You've been uncomfortable. You've never been poor. Because you wouldn't even, I can't shape myself to tell somebody they're bootstrapping where I know what it takes to kind of be poor. I'm like, yo, if you're trying anything at all, I respect you, period. If you're cleaning anything, I respect you, period. Why? Because I know what it takes to really be at that point where the best you can do is the best you can do. A lot of these people are sitting on their behinds calling people names because they have they just don't have it.
So there was another story my mom shared with me. It was a pretty where we lived in this, like, I remember the apartment because I told myself I would never get these checker floors ever in life.
The black and white ones?
Yeah, black. I hate them damn floors. But it wasn't the best like building, right? It was kind of like, I don't think that thing was up to code. But anywho, you know how you have these like flashback memories of like these childhood memories? It was kind of like fun to you. But that same memory that I know of, like we were, my mom was bathing me and my sister outside, like with I've had, the tub, not the tub, the bucket and stuff like that. So we're just having fun, like we're outside, whatever. Me and my sister, I still remember that we're just having fun. My mom yelling at us, trying to get us to come back so she could wet us, whatever, and dry us off before it gets too cold. So the context of that, I never knew why we were taking a bath outside, but the context of that is my mom was complaining to the landlord or the building owner or whatever of some electricity or something that was going on. she was complaining, trying to get him to fix it. And something about she was about to report him or something like that. Although she paid rent, right? Although she paid rent, he was so petty enough to cut off the water. So in my mind, as a kid, I'm having fun with my sister and my mom just like bathing us, and we're just like laughing, whatever, and stuff like that. The water was cut off. And I think of that, and I think of just the context of, because in memories to us, where something could be fun or something could be slightly inconvenient, whatever, your parent or whoever is going through is a totally different experience.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So come to find out, my mom had to heat up the water on the stove to make sure it wasn't too cold, let it sit for a bit. And then we came outside with our with our panties. And, we bathed, and I'm just playing around with my sister in the bucket, whatever, in the bucket. And I'm thinking it's just a fun time. The water was cut off. And my brothers and my older brother remember the story. My brother went to a family friend or someone where he took a shower there because the water was cut off.
We didn't even have running water in Haiti though. It's like, this is normal for me. Like,
so it's just those things here in you could say that, of course, in Haiti, but here in the United States. You know what I'm saying? And he did that. The landlord, to my understanding,
I'm not taking for it.
No, I get.
I'm just tossing it to me. I'm like, that was just like the norm. Like,
I get that, but I think he was also trying to exploit my mom because the fact that she had all her papers and stuff like that, but she didn't have much money, so that's all she could afford is that sort of place. You get what I'm saying? And the income that she was bringing in, that's all she could get. Is that place where he was working? Well, I don't know. He was working with her. I'm not sure, but he was just being petty. And I think it just comes to those stories right around the accessibility and the struggles that people are enduring every day. Sometimes struggles you cannot see. And it's just funny to me how in that context of that memory for me was like a fun experience, right? But to my mom, that was like the lowest point. Because although she paid him for that rent for that month, he cut off the water until she got someone involved and he cut it back on, right? But she went through hell the last few years with that landlord, and he wasn't doing anything for us, and we had to live under those circumstances. And again, it's for me the willpower to kind of push through these things. It's like when you have nobody. Like, I don't think people understand when you have no one to rely on. What do you do? What do you do? Are you gonna lie in inconvenience, like this inconvenient mean or this attitude, or are you going to step up and be the person that you need for yourself? And I think sometimes that we lie in this comfort too long, or this complacency too long, and we want to label it as easy, or it's not easy enough, i.e. soft life, right? And I don't know, like it could be as simple as labeling someone bootstrapping or being a bootstrapper, but it can also be saying too is that I couldn't push hard enough, but I see how you're pushing and that scares me. Because I can't do it, or I don't think I can do it, and that's what I see that in people when they try to say bootstrapping as the easiest way. I don't know, like again, built different. It's just these experiences I think of, and I appreciate my mom telling me these stories in context now, but it's just these things I just think about in retrospect. I'm like, dang. Do y'all really know what poor is? Like, what do you do when you don't have anyone to rely on or lack of resources? So for me, is moving forward and doing things for myself it's like I need to take care of myself at some point and do things for myself that I can be comfortable I don't have to worry about someone cutting off my water, someone doing, explosive things, in my households under circumstances. I think about those things. It's just, just a story I just thought about. Just sharing.
That's good.
People don't know about how hard it is to be poor, marginalized, and disenfranchised. But at the same time, the only way to get out of it is through it, right? And I think for people like us, when we tell people that, hey, education works, or discipline and drive and all that stuff works, because we've been there. It's almost like we've watched the journey. We went through the journey, and that's why we're so convicted in it, and telling people that, hey, it's possible. It's not to say that it's going to be easy, but it's possible. And I think a lot of people don't want to hear that. And I'll be looking at like, why? Because I actually went through it. I could tell you about not going through the fridge multiple times and there's really nothing in there. Or drinking. I used to drink a lot of Coca-Cola because for some reason, I don't know, that was the only thing that was available. They like my uncle at the time or my aunt would buy Coca-Cola, but there's almost like there was no real healthy options at the house. So I could look back and it's like, I understand why I was so unhealthy. I understand why my skin was so unhealthy, because that's all I ever did. I ate free school lunch. I had to go to school because that's how I'm going to get my breakfast and my lunch. And afterwards, I got some Coke. That was it. So when people say, "Oh, you bootstrapping," yeah, I mean, like,
I'm just saying,
the Coke. But ultimately, I look at everybody else and like, "Oh, you're bootstrapping," or you're telling people that they can. I'm like, because I've been there. That's it. Because like your point, when there's nobody else that's going to help you, especially when you grow up in Haiti, like there is no, oh, the government did this to me or white people did. There's no white people around. So who are you going to blame when you're starving, when you can't get home, when you can't do anything? I remember there was a time my mom, we went out to like a museum. I think it was like Vizcaya. That day was one of the few times we ever went out with me, my mom, my sister, and a friend of hers. I guess he acted like a guide or something. Maybe they were trying to date. I have no idea. But on the way back, I was so sleepy I forgot like this extra pie that she bought, and she told me to carry this bag, and I forgot it on the bus. And she was so pissed. But I could like she was trying to restrain. Obviously, I got hit for it, whatever it was. But I was looking at it and realized the reason that she was so mad because that's all we had to eat. That's all we had to kind of like, get us through. But in that moment, because I just forgot, and there's a lapse of my mind or whatever it was, it's something that she was superiorly pissed about. But she was so overwhelmed with emotion and anger, she went to go looking for the bus, so on and so forth. By the time she come back, and we decided to finally leave and go home, the buses stopped running. From downtown Miami, the buses stopped running. We walked from the center of downtown Miami, because that was where the bus station was. We walked from that point all the way home. That had to been maybe a 2-hour walk. There wasn't no extra money. There wasn't no Uber, no taxi or anything like that. It might have been even longer than 2 hours. At some point, when you're a kid, you also kind of, your body is not that good. It can't sustain itself. Like, yeah, you could have a little pep in your step at the very beginning, but after a couple hours there, you just don't got it. And then at some point, my mom had to carry me. And I remember
short
being
legs.
weak. I remember I'm like, I'm weak. I didn't like that. I hated that idea that I caused so much issues, right? When I understood at that, because at that point I'm one of those people that understands what's going on without all the details. That I'm like, oh, you're not naturally, you're always kind of angry, but you can't be naturally this super angry unless it's very meaningful for you.
You became cognizant.
Yeah, you're like, oh man, this person is like, and then we had to walk. That walk itself was bad. And I realized at that point too in my life, it's like, hey, you can't let your emotions overrun you so much that you miss out the bigger picture. We should have probably been headed home, but we didn't. So instead, it took us even longer to get there. It took us so damn long. And for a kid, it's a very long time.
In Florida, even at night, like if you're not from Florida and you're listening, at night it's even as humid.
Oh yeah, and I was disoriented because I was not familiar with the area. I might have been still 9 at the time. So I realized a lot of those things I ended up being really good at later, like navigating myself through any city. Toss me in the middle of any city in the world, give me 3 days, I'll know my way in and out of it. Why? Because that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna research it and I'm gonna log it in my brain. If I have to go anywhere, if I have to walk 2 hours, doable. Why? Because I'm just built that way now. All those challenges I endured, all those things that I've gone through, I try to learn from it as much as possible, because even if somebody's going to call me a bootstrapper or neocon or neoliberal, neo whatever, I'm looking at them like, you have a lot of names and labels for everything. If you know what hungriness is, you wouldn't label shit. Like you just don't. I'm just very happy and very, very fortunate and appreciative of having food in my fridge and even food in my pantry that I could make, that I could physically make, because I know what starving feels like. I know I know all those different pieces. So it's why when people say stuff to me like that, it doesn't really hurt me. I just laugh at them like, I told my buddies on the things like, wow, that's so sad. Such a sad tale. The white man hurt you. Oh, it's sad. Like, cause what else you want me to do with that information? It's not gonna feed me. It's not gonna pay my bills. What do you want me to do? Render myself to be inert, a frail person, like and a weak person? Nah, that's not me. It's never gonna be me. And that's just about it. I ranted enough for my therapy for the night.
Bootstrap that.
I therapize myself. So I laugh. I literally laugh because I don't think people really know what it's like to not have. I look at some of these people, I could tell they had. That's what I look at people and see. I'm like, oh, okay, I see how you complain. I look at your face. It's fat, it's full. You don't know what it is to starve. You don't know what it is to be thirsty. You don't know what it is to be struggling.
Well, hold up. You said, look at your face. It's fat.
Yeah. Literally, I'm like, look at it. It's fat. It's like, it's happy. You're sitting back right now. You're going in. Look at the words you use, the diction that you have, the way that you inflect your words. Oh, the pain and the torture within it. Wow, you have a lot of time on your hands. That's when you know I've been poor as shit. Like, let's just know that.
We've been poor. We've been poor.
Without the syllables out here, super poor. And what's worse too is those same people that are making fun of that make fun of me today were the same people in inverse that used to make fun of me when I had even less. Wow. So at no point in this live stream, right, will you ever be correct. When you had less, they made fun of you because you had less than them. When you have more, they make fun of you because you have more than them.
Never ending cycle here.
Yeah, but you win it in real life. That's why I would try to tell people, like, yeah, okay. there's no there's no point.
I tell them I'm rich.
It's like there's no point. Like, why am I even having this conversation with you right now, brother? Like, there's no point. You don't see what I see, and that's the loss of conversation in this. Like, no, I'm not doing it.
Lovely, you didn't have a story?
Let me say, I'm not a bootstrapper.
I'm not bootstrapping at all. Like,
I have plenty. Like, but it's just one of those situations where it's almost as if like people, it doesn't matter if you told them, they just don't want to believe it. And I say that all the time to my friend about, people are going to want to sit at the table with you because you've amassed wealth, you've amassed all these things. And there are some people that knew you when you didn't have anything, and it was a problem then too. Just like Lauren said, yeah, you're gonna kill me about this, kill me about that. For me, I grew up with my mom and my brother's dad spent probably like 8 to 9 years together. So probably from the time I was like 6 to 13, 14-ish. But those years were just pretty much just not cruise control, but more so like you're not understanding from a kid's lens what's really happening. Like, retrospectively, you understand how toxic some of the stuff was. But my mom was working her CNA job. She was working a retail job, and as well doing the cleaning business on the side to make sure that we had food, clothes, a roof over our head. And that's after owning 2 properties, doing all these things. But because she partnered with someone that just didn't care, that's just what I kind of have to put it down to. It all kind of was like that 10-year span where she was building. It kind of went all the way down. So mind you, now from the time I was 15 to 18, she's like rebuilding again from the boots that she was strapping before. Because she came here, no English, no nothing, and she was able to amass some things, partnered with the wrong type of person, ended up losing and pretty much squandering all of those things. And then she had a massive stroke when I was 18, and she's not been able to work for the last, I'm 31 now, 10, 11, 13. So the last 13 years, she's only been able to get what $1,000 to $1,200 every month. So what, $12,000 for the last 13 years of her life. She was somebody that was working 3 type of jobs, and now she can't work. And so I've been fitting for myself for a very long time. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful for not coming from an easy road, because my legs have stamina. Can stay in the road when stuff gets hard and they don't make sense. I persevered through that because there was no other option. I think people got too much options. You got, somebody to save you. I don't have that. I don't have like a get out of jail free card. And so there is no other option but to bootstrap. So when I think about these stories, I think about how hard she worked and all the things that she's been able to gain. If she didn't even have the little that she had, where would she be? She was able to build a place in Haiti that she's there 6 months out of the year, or sometimes a little bit more. But overall, it's just tragedy over tragedy, because one of the probably reasons why she had uncontrolled blood pressure, wasn't seeing a doctor. You don't got time to go see a doctor when you got 3 jobs and 3 kids to take care of as a single parent, and resulting into her having a massive stroke, resulting into all these things. However, I saw her hustle, her grind. And so, balance of both worlds. But you got to do what you got to do.
I think that's what we all agree on. You just have to do what you have to do under dire circumstances, under comfortable circumstances. You'll do what you have to do if it needs to get done. Yep. That's how I see it. And that's how I always see it. Whatever you see with the boot, without the boot, 2 things can be true.
Exactly.
So
I think we drove this point.
Yeah, we drove that point. I'm gonna wrap it up.
Hey, got some good therapy out of that.
Yeah, that was a good therapy. That was a real good therapy session. You guys been saving me some money because my therapy sessions went up.
Oh, shoot. Why are you still paying?
Yeah.
Why are you still paying out here? All right, cool.
Oh, I stopped. I had to cut off my budget.
I'll do that no more.
No, because after it used to be it was 20, then it went to 35 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, she's trying to get that extra money for it. It's like, hey, you gonna stay here with me.
Yeah, that copay went up, but I haven't seen her in close to a year since we've been doing our consistent things. So I'm like, talking to you guys is just as good.
I bet she never even call you back, huh? That's messed up. These people are cold therapists. They're like, I thought I was helping you with your problem, but once the money ran out, she's like, yeah, that's your own problem.
She's like, well,
I could help you, but gotta go.
Little business. But it's funny that you actually mentioned how just talking to us is just as good. I think there's I don't know what the generation's about to do when it comes to just understanding how community, these small little things, like having people to chat through things or talk about past stuff and still see that, yeah, that's all true, but you can get better. It's helpful. It really is. Saves a lot of money, time, and energy.
That's why, I feel sorry when we're talking about the lonely generation, the lonely world.
They need to be lonely enough to maybe figure out that it's not good for it to be. Because if people really believe that it was good, right? It was actually a good thing, then why are people killing themselves over it? People are actually committing suicide because they're lonely. So for us to say that in one light, oh, this is okay. It's okay for us to have this virtual world and AI living, because it's all makes sense. When in reality is like the statistics show us that this actually is not good. It's statistically bad, horrible, not good at all. So we need to address it instead of trying to say that, oh, people are fine. They're okay with the way it is. Really?
The only thing I could do is address myself. So this is my therapy session, my hobby, my creativity, all in one.
And
Soft
you're
life.
bootstrapping.
And my
you're
bootstrapping. And my bootstrapping. See, I'm living, winning.
Yeah, I love it. Anybody that's like, oh, you talk about bootstrapping? Like, yes, I am. It's amazing. Have you ever tried it?
Not have you ever tried it?
Like, have you tried it once? Oh, yeah. I thought you went to school. I was like, yeah, I did. I'm like, oh, so you bootstrapped it. Like kind of mess with them in their minds.
I think some people have a level of bootstrapping if they really think about it.
Everybody bootstraps. Anytime if you decided to go, if you graduate high school, technically you bootstrapped. If you went to college and you graduated college, you bootstrapped. You got a job, you are bootstrapping. The anti-version of bootstrapping is doing nothing. Absolutely nothing.
True. Good point.
That means you didn't even decide to put on your boots. So that means you're still sitting there. Like, okay.
So essentially we were all bootstrappers.
Yeah. And that's the irony of it all. Like, progress is bootstrapping. That's what that is.
That's the title of this episode.
So
I gotta make sure I write that down.
All right. But thank you for listening to us. Yet again, you can find me on the interwebs at the Neighborhood Finance Guy. But I'm always on here in the ones and twos with my co-host, because obviously I have to bring in the male perspective, because Black men are losing to Black women. So I'm trying to win.
Oh, wow. What was that last episode?
That turned negative.
Where was that?
That was sounding
like,
really
that was
good,
weird.
and then it turned the left corner.
Like, that was
what's
weird.
up with you when it comes to like just the swinging the block? Just swing once I think you're like on the right path,
why don't you just move on?
You just swing the block, brother.
Down the Black man. Just,
okay?
Don't beat down the Black man. Just don't beat them out. Where can they find you guys? How about that? Why don't you wrap it up?
You can find me on IG at Alainta Alcin _.
You can find me at Merdelus everywhere. Just find me.
Oh, I felt that. Thank you all for listening to another episode of TFG. And on that note, we are out. Peace.
Ow.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Griot podcast, powered by the Wealth Builders Collective.